So I've been reading a couple books recently that have got me thinking about this topic of resilience. And this is part of something that I do a lot of studying great people, people who have accomplished great things. And so these two books, one is Undeniable by Cameron Haynes. And if you haven't read it, story is fantastic of who he is and what he does is just absolutely amazing. And then really it's two books, but kind of combined into one by Tim S. Grover, Relentless and Winning. And Tim Grover was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's personal trainer, as well as a lot of other NBA and sports stars. And so he got to see the greats of the great, because that's the only people he worked with was the truly, truly great. And, you know, there was a central theme of resilience as a trait that they talk about in their books, because, you know, Cam goes through and he's talking on his podcast with these magnanimous people who are all winning in their lives in some way or shape or form in massive ways. And he's telling their stories. And then you're hearing Tim Grover talk about the traits that make up Michael and Kobe and so many of the other greats in the NBA and major sports. And this topic of resilience starts to become this common thread that you see, right? This topic of resilience. And you know, it's interesting because it isn't about motivation. It isn't about hype, but there was a definition that came out of my reading of these books. I want to share that with you. I want to share with you my definition that came out of the reading, and also six principles that I've learned through this study over the last few months. And so I'm going to do this over a few different videos here. I know very often that, you know, once a week I give you something that's on my mind right now. Well, I got a lot on my mind right now. And so I'm going to do these six in different parts, okay? But let's start off here. Let's start off with a definition of resilience. It's the tiny, unglamorous decisions you make when things get heavy, confusing, or frustrating. The tiny, unglamorous decisions you make when things get heavy, confusing, or frustrating. I mean, just sitting with that alone, what are the tiny, unglamorous decisions that we make when things aren't going well? And are they really, really great decisions? Are they really, really great habits? Are they? I know for me, they're not always, right? And that's one of the things that this has kind of forced me to look at here is some of those habits and some of those traits and some of those things that we do when things get heavy, confusing, or frustrating. Because it's the tiny things that we do then the unglamorous things that we do then that really get us to success and winning, or failure and losing. And so you know which side of that coin you come out on more times than any other. And if you're coming out on the losing side more times, then your tiny decisions aren't the right ones. And that's the thing that I had to face in listening to these books and hearing about this. And so, as I said, it distilled down into six principles. So it was really three books, and I listened and re-listened for the point and the thread of resilience, and was able to pull out six principles out of these three books by these two gentlemen. And so I'm going to do my best to kind of go through these. And again, I am not here trying to preach this as gospel to you. I am here telling you this is what I am working through and what I am learning through right now from studying other people who have achieved greatness in their lives and changed the world, whatever size of the world that they were afforded to change. Okay, and these were the 6 principles. I'm just gonna run through the 6 principles now, but then I'm gonna do a separate video on each one, and we're gonna kind of break these down. Okay, so principle number 1: embrace chosen suffering. Yeah, wait till that video. That's a good video. Principle number 2: become a cleaner. This is a Tim Grover term, and I'll explain that, what he means there. But become a cleaner and create opportunities. Become a cleaner and create opportunities. That's principle number 2. Principle number 3: discipline is the only talent. Discipline is the only talent. Principle number 4: be addicted to the result, not the process. Be addicted to the result, not the process. Principle number 5: trust your instincts and don't overthink. Right? How many of us fall on that one? And principle number 6: the standard rises with every win. The standard rises with every win. Now, as I said, I'm going to go through and break down each one of these in a separate video. I'll tell you, there was something in just about all of these that kind of smacked me, shook me, made me cry uncle, like we used to do when we were kids on the playground, right? Cry uncle. Some more than others, but every one of these principles, there was a piece of it that did that for me. And sometimes it was the entire freaking principle that did that for me as well. And so stay tuned, because this is just the introduction. And as I said, I'm going to go through each one of these. And as you've looked at your life and you've looked at being resilient, because look, it takes resilience to achieve. Right? When we were little kids, when we were babies and we were crawling and when we stood up to walk, we fell over flat on our face a number of times. And none of those times did we quit and say, I will never walk. No, we just got back up. That's resilience. In that face, right? In the face of difficult times, what was a tiny, unglamorous decision that you made? Well, in that moment, it was to get our butt back up and continue walking. Continue trying to walk, right? Same thing when, look, the process of reading, really? Like, that's, really? Yeah, we all failed in that one too. At some point, some way, shape. I'm still failing sometimes, to be honest. And we got back up. We were resilient. We made tiny decisions, sometimes unglamorous decisions, tiny decisions, things that, we had little cheat sheets of how we would remember certain things to help us. But it takes, our life takes resilience. There's resilience all around us, but sometimes we don't see it. We don't acknowledge when we're being resilient. We don't acknowledge the strength that we have in one situation and how we can apply it in another situation. But we'll talk more about that. So, end of this video. I'll see you next week as we continue in this series and process talking about resilience. And I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you about how resilience looks in your life too. Thanks.